Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amy. I am a mum of two boys and really happen to love books. So if you'd like to see some more videos on my cozy little corner of the internet, then please consider subscribing. It would be amazing to have you here. So in today's video we are going to go over all of my most anticipated releases of 2025, and 2025 is just a few weeks away now, so some of these books which I have pre-ordered will be in my hands very soon, which is so exciting. I'm super excited about it. But this year has just flown by. I cannot believe how quickly this year has gone, and yeah, it just feels like one big blur. But I hope 2025 will be a really good reading year for me as well. I have surpassed my reading goal for this year, but I'm hoping to up my reading goal a little bit more next year, so we'll see what 2025 brings. And I think these new releases will help to kind of speed that along. So I'm going to go over the new releases in month and release date order, so that's just so I don't get confused and so you guys can make a note of it if you want to put any of these books on your wish list as well. So the first book, which I'm super excited about, is being released on the 16th of January, and it is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. Now, I have only read one book by Grady Hendrix so far. I read My Best Friend's Exorcism back in October and I really liked it. I have picked up a Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires as well, which I want to read next year. But Witchcraft for Wayward Girls is this new release which is coming out in January, and I'm super excited for it. They call them wayward girls, loose girls, girls who grew up too fast, and they're sent to Wellwood House in St. Augustine, Florida, where unwed mothers are hidden by their families to have their babies in secret, to give them up for adoption, and most important of all, to forget any of it ever happened. 15-year-old Fern arrives at the home in the sweltering summer of 1970, pregnant, terrified, and alone. Then Fern meets a librarian who gives her an occult book about witchcraft, and power is in the hands of these girls for the first time in their lives. But power can destroy as easily as it creates, and it's never given freely. There's always a price to be paid, and it's usually paid in blood. Wow. So this is going to be another cracker from Grady Hendrix, I think. I know a lot of people have problems with Grady Hendrix's books because he gives them a female standpoint and he is male, but I think it gives a very refreshing point of view, and I do find the books very relatable as well from what I've read. So fingers crossed he keeps that going, because that's part of the reason why his books are so well loved, I think. So I'm super excited for this one. Now this one I'm not going to give any synopsis of because I haven't even read the first two yet. Have I pre-ordered it? Yes. Even though I haven't read either of the books, either of the other books in the series. It's Onyx by Rebecca Yarros, and that is being released on the 21st of January 2025. I have pre-ordered it. It will be in my hands very soon, in the next just over, I think, about 5 weeks. It will be here in my hands and on my bookshelf. So this is a continuation of the Fourth Wing storyline. So there's Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and then Onyx Storm is the third book in the series. So I'm not going to say any more about that because I don't want to look up any synopsis that might give me spoilers for what happens in the first two books. So we'll leave Onyx Storm at that. February, now this is a big one. We have quite a lot of books, 3 to be exact, that I'm interested in that are being released on the 13th of February. So the first one is Cursebound by Saara Arafi. This is the second book in the Faithbound series. I haven't read Faithbound yet because I am waiting for after Christmas, because I have asked for a Waterstones or an Amazon gift card or cash to get some special editions, and I really want to get a special edition of Faithbound, which is the first book in the series, so I can then get the matching special edition of Cursebound. So Faithbound is a romantasy, I believe. 2 elven sisters become imprisoned in the intoxicating world of the Fae, where danger and love lie in wait. Faithbound is the first book in an enchanting new trilogy. So it looks like it looks like it's a fantasy. So I have heard mixed things about Faithbound, but I still do really want to give it a go. And the reviews that are good are really good. So fingers crossed Cursebound is just as good, because the covers are stunning and I really want to have them on my bookshelves. So the next book being released on the 13th of February is called Hungerstone by Kat Dunn, and this is a Carmilla retelling. So vampires are involved in this one, and the cover, I mean the US cover alone looks stunning, and I don't like the fact that the US and the UK have such different covers. I wish they would just keep them the same, but I imagine it's to do with publishers. But this looks super, super cool. Lenore is the wife of steel magnate Henry, but 10 years into their marriage, the relationship has soured and no child has arrived to fill the distance growing between them. Henry's ambitions take them from London to the Peak District, the remote, imposing Nethershore estate where he plans to host a hunting party. But as the couple travel through the bleak countryside, a shocking carriage accident brings the mysterious Carmilla into Lenore's life. Carmilla, who is weak and pale during the day but vibrant at night. Carmilla, who stirs something deep within Lenore, and before long girls from the local villages fall sick, consumed by a terrible hunger. So I think this might be sapphic. I do have a feeling this might be a sapphic romance. I love vampire retellings. I read Dracula a few months ago and I loved it, and I really want to delve more into Dracula retellings and Carmilla retellings. I have Lucy Undying by Kirsten White on my bookshelf, and that is a retelling that I'm super, super excited to read. So fingers crossed this one is just as good and exceeds my expectations. So also, this is the third book being released on the 13th of February, is The Sirens by Emilia Hart. I read Wayward by Emilia Hart, and even though it was a very tough read at times, I really, really enjoyed it. A spellbinding novel about sisters separated by centuries but bound together by the sea. So I think this is very similar to Wayward in the fact it's set in 3 separate timelines. So we've got 2019, 1999 and 1800. A breathtaking tale of female resilience and the bonds of sisterhood across time and space. The Sirens captures power of dreams and the mystery and magic of the sea. That sounds absolutely beautiful. So it might have some magical realism in there. I know Wayward definitely did have magical realism in, and the power of the sisterhood and, you know, your lineage travelling through you. I think it's going to be a very similar storyline to Wayward. So if it's just as good as Wayward, waiting for a treat. But I did forget to include, this is on the bottom of my list because I forgot to add it at the very last minute, but on the 11th of February, so we're going back a couple of days, Scythe and Sparrow by Brynne Weaver is being released, which is the 3rd book in the Butcher and Blackbird series. I have not read Butcher and Blackbird or Leather and Lark yet, so I'm not going to be looking up a synopsis. But I think they are interconnected standalones, all set in the same universe. So this will probably be from another couple's POV, from what I believe. So fingers crossed, I like Butcher and Blackbird and Leather and Lark, so I can continue on with the series. On the 27th of February, The Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli comes out, which is the 2nd book in the Crimson Moth series. So book 1 in the UK is The Crimson Moth. I know in the US it's called Heartless Hunter. I'm not sure why the name was changed, but yeah, this is the 2nd book in the Crimson Moth. I'm not sure if it's a duology or a trilogy, but I haven't read The Crimson Moth yet. I did buy it, but I'm going to do a separate book haul after Christmas, I think, because I haven't got enough books in my haul pile to do a full book haul yet. So I'm going to wait until after Christmas, but that will be included in the book haul. So again, not going to read the synopsis because I don't want to spoil it for myself. But I know that this is similar to Serpent and Dove, where it's a witch and witch hunter romance. I have heard that this is kind of like Marmite. You either love it or you hate it. Hopefully I love it. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Now into March. And we have 2 books being released on the 13th of March. And the first one, this is probably my most anticipated release of next year. And it is Faithbreaker by Hannah Kaner. So this is the 3rd book in the Fallen Gods trilogy, the first being Godkiller and the 2nd book being Sunbringer. So this is the conclusion to the Godkiller saga. I haven't read Sunbringer yet because I really want to wait until I have the completed series before I read this, but I absolutely adored Godkiller. It's got action, it's got adventure, fantasy, found family, cozy vibes and just an overall amazing storyline. So I'm really excited to see this conclusion to this amazing storyline. Also being released on the 13th of March is the Strawberry Patch Pancake House by Laurie Gilmore. I have not read the Pumpkin Spice Cafe yet, which I was supposed to in autumn, but hey, life got busy. So that will be on my TBR for the autumn time next year, I think. Also, I'm really sorry if the lighting's changed. It is currently 2 p.m, so the sun is getting ready to go down and it is super cloudy anyway, so the lighting might not be great. So we've got the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, Christmas Tree Farm, and then the Strawberry Patch Pancake House. So these are all interconnected standalones, I think, and they're kind of like Grumpy Sunshine romances from what I've heard. And I do kind of want to branch out of my reading styles a little bit. I'm very dead set in my ways at the minute with fantasy. So I do kind of want to branch out on that a little bit. So I am very excited for this one, and hopefully it is just as good as what I've heard about the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Next, on the 20th of March. Now this is probably another one. These two are probably tied, I'd say, actually. On the 20th of March, one of my next most anticipated reads of 2025 is being released, and it is To You at the Altar by Rebecca Thorne. This is the third book of Tea, Tomes and Something series, but the first book is Can't Spell Treason Without Tea, and the second book is A Pirate's Life for Tea. I absolutely adored Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. I haven't read A Pirate's Life for Tea yet, just because I think when I think of pirates I always think of summer, and plus I am in this phase at the minute where I want to wait until I have the complete series before I read any other books, just because I don't want to be left hanging and then forget pieces of the story by the time I get around to the new release. So I do want to read all of the books one after the other, which is going to take a while, I think, because there's still one more book that needs to be released because it is going to be a quartet. But yeah, I'm super excited for this book to come out, and I'm definitely going to get the Waterstone Special Edition because I have the Waterstone Special Edition of the first two, so that is a must. And on the 27th of March, there is The Deathly Grimm coming out by Kathryn Purdie. The first book is The Forest Grimm, which I haven't read yet. I have heard mixed things about it, but for some reason I am just so drawn to The Forest Grimm and I really want to read it. So I might pick up both once The Deathly Grimm is released, and we shall see. I might do a reading vlog reading the both of them, but I have heard mixed things, but reading is definitely subjective, and you know, what I think is amazing other people might think is awful, so we shall see if I can get my hands on it once it's released. We are now in April, and on the 8th of April, Fearless by Lauren Roberts gets released, which is the third book in the, well, I say third book, like technically fourth, because there are 2 books and a novella that are currently out, and it is the third and a half, fourth book in the Powerless saga. So we've got Powerless, Reckless, Powerful, which is a little novella, and then Fearless comes out on the 8th of April. I have not read Powerless yet, so again, I kind of want to wait until I have the whole series before I venture into this world, because once I'm invested, I'm fully invested, and I want to keep going and going and going until I find out what happens. And I do love the Waterstones editions with the different coloured sprayed edges. I think they're absolutely gorgeous. At the minute I only have the paperbacks. I might just wait until it's out in paperback, to be honest, just because I already have them all in paperback. There are only certain books that I know I'm going to absolutely adore that I get new hardbacks of or special editions of. If I love Powerless, then I will get all of the special editions, but we shall see. I haven't crossed that bridge yet. 15th of April, Wild and Wrangled comes out, which is the 4th book in the Blue Rebel Ranch series by Lyla Sage. These are all interconnected standalones, very similar to Elsie Silver's books, and I love like the pop art style on the covers of these. I have got the first 2 books. I need to get Lost. Is it Lost and Lassoed? I think it's Lost in the Seed, which is the third book. I'm pretty sure it's that. Maybe not. I'm getting confused. But I've got the first 2 books. I haven't got the third book yet. And then Wild and Wrangled is the 4th book. So, again, not read any of them as of yet. But there's just something about the covers of these that just makes me want to have them on my shelves. Yeah, we'll see what happens. If I read the first book and I'm not really feeling it, then I might just put it on hold. But I do have a feeling I am going to like it. And the last book being released in April, which I'm super, super excited about. I've never heard of this author before, or this book, to be honest. But it is When the Tides Held the Moon by Venessa, Vida, Kelley. So this is a historical fantasy, I believe. Historical fantasy with epic romance at the turn of the 20th century in this unforgettable New York fairy tale of queer identity and found family. That sounds so good. And the cover is just absolutely gorgeous. So it does include mermen and mermaids. So I'm not gonna spoil it anymore for myself. But this looks absolutely gorgeous. And as soon as I saw this, I'd never heard of this book, never heard of this author before. As soon as I saw that cover, I was just like, add to list. I don't care what it's about, just add it to the list. Yeah, this looks absolutely gorgeous, and I really, really hope it's as good as I think it's going to be. We're now into May, so we only have 2 new releases coming out in May, and the first is A Curse Carved in Bone by Danielle L. Jensen, and that's being released on the 13th of May. So this is the second book in the series. I can't remember the name of the series, but the first book is A Fate Inked in Blood. I have not read A Fate Inked in Blood yet, but it has got Norse references in it and Norse mythology references, which I'm super, super excited about. I love books that talk about Norse mythology. I feel like it's definitely made more of an occurrence now. When I first started reading a few years ago, properly as an adult, there weren't that many books about Norse mythology, but now it's starting to make a comeback a little bit. I've heard mixed things about A Fate Inked in Blood, but that doesn't put me off any less. Yeah, there's just something about A Fate Inked in Blood that keeps drawing me in and keeps wanting me to read it. And I have a feeling I am going to enjoy it. Maybe not as much as I think I will, but I think I'll still enjoy it nonetheless. And, you know, it might have that comeback story where the first book isn't that great, but then the second book really packs a punch. So I am very excited to see what the second book brings. And on the 20th of May, we have a new book from Rachel Gillig called The Night and the Moth. I don't know if this is going to be a series. From what it looks like, it might be. But I have not read One Dark Window or 2 Twisted Crowns yet, but I've heard amazing things about them. And when I saw the cover of this, I was just instantly drawn in and really wanted to pick it up. So I might read One Dark Window and 2 Twisted Crowns just to get used to Rachel Gillig's writing style. And then when The Night and the Moth releases, I'll pick that up and then delve into that world. But this looks super, super cool, and I'm very, very excited about it. I'm pretty sure it's a fantasy. A gothic mist-cloaked tale of a young prophetess who is forced on an impossible quest with the one infuriating knight whose future is beyond her sight. So that looks really, really good. That looks very, very exciting, and I really can't wait to pick it up. We are now in July, so there's no releases in June that I am very excited about. So we are in July, and we only have one book, and that is The Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling, and that is being released on the 11th of July. It says it's a transfixing fever dream of medieval horror following 3 women in a besieged castle that descends ravenously into madness under the spell of mysterious godlike visitors. That sounds spooky, so it does sound like it's going to be a horror. And Ava Reid actually did a review on it, saying, as brilliant as it is bizarre, from the very first page you know you are in the hands of an author at the height of their abilities. This is the unhinged cannibal book of my dreams. Oh my god. I'm not big into horror, but that sounds very, very cool and very exciting. And I love the cover as well. I think that is really, really cool. So fingers crossed it's worth the hype. September. So again, we've skipped a month. There's only one book in September and it relates to a book that I've talked about before, and it is The Gingerbread Bakery by Laurie Gilmore. So this is the 4th book in the Dream Harbour series. So again, Grumpy Sunshine, romance. If it follows the same theme of the other books from what I've heard, it's going to be a Grumpy Sunshine romance. I have a feeling that all of these books do have a very similar theme, but I do want to give them a try. And there's just something about the covers that make me feel so cosy. And hopefully this time next year I can read Christmas Tree Farm, because I do want to read them in their release order, if that makes sense. So fingers crossed. I like the Pumpkin Spice Cafe enough to continue on with the series. We are in our last month. We are in October, and there are only 2 books in October that I am quite excited for. First one is being released on the 7th of October, and it is The Ballad of Falling Dragons by Sarah A. Parker. This is the sequel to When the Moon Hatched. Have I read When the Moon Hatched? No, but I am so excited to read When the Moon Hatched. I have heard nothing but amazing things about When the Moon Hatched, and if the first one is this good and getting this much hype, I have a feeling the second one is going to be even better. So fingers crossed. I hope my hunch is right. And the last one. This is another case of, have you read any of the books in the series? No, but are you going to order this book? Absolutely. It's Holly by Adeline Grace. So this has been released on the 8th of October. And this is going to be a little Christmas novella in the Belladonna universe. So I don't know if it's going to be with Signa or with the cousin that features in Wisteria, or it could be all of them together. I don't know. But this has taken on a very similar theming to Spectacular, which is the little Christmas novella in the Caraval universe by Stephanie Garber, which I also need to read. But yeah, I've mentioned the Belladonna series so many times on my channel, and it's going to be mentioned in another video before the new year, I think, but hey ho, it will be read next year, I promise. Those are all of the new releases I am most anticipating in 2025. If I have missed any that you think that I would like, then please leave them down below in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think, but I'm going to wrap this video up here. So again, please consider liking this video or subscribing if you have enjoyed it and you want to see some more from me, and I will see you very soon in the next one. Bye!